Good evening and welcome to the September 7th meeting of Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. As we start the month of September, I think many of you know that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I'd like to take a moment of silence for all of those who've lost their lives to suicide. Take a moment for us each to think about ways in which we can positively impact our community and help those who may be struggling in our families and our friends. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Martin? Here. Please vote for the record. Councilman Ramatar is absent. Councilman Godlewski?
Here.
Here.
Here. The agendas are up front for everybody. There are no additions to the agenda other than the add-on that is already on there, which would be an add-on authorizing us to purchase a 2022 Chevy Malibu for the police department. I also, at new business, do have an item that we will be bringing up at new business. I'll be talking about at that juncture. Tonight, we have a couple of public hearings. Folks may be interested in speaking on those public hearings or at those public hearings, which we also have privilege of the floor. We have a sign-up sheet for privilege of the floor. If you want to speak at public hearing, raise your hand. I'll call you up. You state your name and address for the record and address the board on the matter within that public hearing. So with that, we'll start with town council reports. On my left with Councilman Galewski.
Just, Mr. Supervisor, to reiterate and perhaps celebrate the success of this year's Thursdays in the Park program. And thank all of the folks who were a part of that. Obviously, the events committee, our town clerk, Julie Davenport, supervisor, as well as the board, and all the hard work that went into making this, based on what I observed, the most successful year we've had with the Thursday in the Park series. And I think it's only growing. And I was at the last two concerts as well as the family movie night. I started to grow out the beard so that I'm not typecast as an Oompa Loompa for the considerable future. But in all seriousness, I think in past years we saw crowds maybe start to taper, and this year the crowd at the very last concert was ample, and the performances were all great, and I'm looking forward to next year. So I just wanted to acknowledge what a wonderful event that was this year, a series of events, and in particular note just how fun the movie night was, and I'm looking forward to hopefully doing something similar. As far as a movie, I'm not committing to anything as far as what I'm going to do, but certainly something along those lines, because it was a great event and it was a lot of fun. And along those lines, just remind everyone that Saturday, September 24th is Glenville Oktoberfest down at Mallard Park from noon to 9. And I know Ms. Hillis is here and indicated today in the email that we're still looking for volunteers for a number of different things during the day. So if you're interested, reach out to Ms. Hillis after the meeting. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilman Rosbowski.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I would also echo Councilman Godlewski's comments with regard to Thursdays in the Park and the Saturday movie night. I was finally able to attend some of these events. Usually my work schedule prevents me from doing so. And I especially enjoyed the movie night. That's my husband and I, one of our favorite movies, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And we really had a good time. It was really it's very heartwarming to see everyone come together and the kids running around and Malik Park. And I should say thank you to the Parks Committee and to Vicki and all of her hard work and dedication. Malik Park has come a long, long way in a very short amount of time, relatively speaking. And it was perfect. It was beautiful. The other thing I'd like to report on is I did attend that special meeting of the Town Chiefs Association where we did some active shooter training with them. In the future, there will be more training with local police departments, Schenectady Police Department, probably the Sheriff's Department, Glenville Police Department, and the fire departments. They were talking about implementing a phased-in approach of training to kind of work with the volunteer fire department schedules, which will be really good to see. And they also discussed the training tower funds that we have received, the grant we received. We're just about done forming a working group, and we'll be coming back with hopefully a good plan of action to move forward with drawings and applications and all that good stuff. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Martin.
Just maybe also say thanks to the volunteers who work on our committees, especially the events committee and the October committee. Dave and Vicki and the folks there do a great job. And I think it shows we're now establishing some real solid events here in Glenville, and it's coming up to be a destination now for the town, but even for the region. It's all thanks to the volunteers and my colleagues.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, our first public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone interested in speaking at the public hearing, we'll have you come up, state your name and address for the record, and address the board on the issue. The first public hearing is open. This is a public hearing related to consideration authorizing improvements to the town of Glenville water treatment plant and distribution system. This is a comprehensive project of $22.7 million. This is a necessary public hearing in order for us to apply for a grant. The grant will address 60% of the cost of the project up to a $5 million cap. So the grant doesn't cover the entire $22.7 million, just to be clear on that. And so we've talked about this repeatedly, actually, here the past couple of months, that if we do get the grant, then we would probably max out to get the $5 million. We max out our 40%, which is bring the project to 8.7. So at that juncture is the juncture where we'll be deciding on what projects to move forward with and what projects not to move forward with. But the entire 22.7 is not what we are applying for. It's not what we'll get, and it's not what we're going to spend. And we'll talk about that more when we get to the bond resolution authorizing that. So with that short, just kind of setting the stage, anyone interested to be heard on this matter? Anyone wish to be heard on the matter regarding improvements to the water system? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Moving on to the second public hearing to hear all those interested in authorizing the application of Restore New York funds for the demolition of the Navy Depot improvements. I'm going to open that public hearing and I'm going to call on the chairman of the Metroplex Authority, Ray Gillen, to come up and address the board.
Just a table there. Put that there on purpose. How are you, Ray? Good to see you. Thank you.
Hey, how are you? Thanks.
The Restore New York program was started by Governor Pataki. And when he was in town recently, we thanked him for starting the program because the focus of it was really that there are large buildings, especially in upstate New York, that are eyesores. And they either need to be fixed or they need to be demolished to really improve communities and make communities feel better about themselves and make communities more prosperous. The program went away under Governor Cuomo, Governor Hochul, and the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly brought it back. So there's $250 million in funding available, $100 million this fall, and then a second tranche of funding, $150 million that'll follow. We have a quick packet to go through here. This is the ad that we ran in the Daily Gazette last week for 3 days that we're required to do as part of the grant application. It's a little bit fuzzy. I apologize, it's not an eye test, but our copier wasn't working very well. But it basically says that we are going to be working with the town and the supervisor. We always work closely with him on many economic development projects here in Glenville. And the application would go in to demolish building 404 and 405. Each of them are 120,000 square feet, and we would demolish those buildings if we get the grant. These are old, and it's the second slide has the location, a map that shows you where building 404 and 405 are. And you'll see from the next few slides, they're vacant, they're beat up, they're old World War II construction Navy buildings that are really past their useful life. They're concrete block. They're used for storage now, but basically they're vacant and they're blighted. And the heart of our application is that we would ask the state to fund $2 million in a grant to the town of Glenville that would be used to demolish these two buildings. And if we get the grant, the Gillespie Group has committed to investing $17 million of their own private money to build two new buildings where building 404 and 405 are now. So that would all be private money that would go into two buildings that would be then ready for new companies to move in to the park. So we're working very closely with the supervisor and his team to put this application together. It's due on October 11th. Our plan is to deliver it to the state on October 6th, a couple of days early. And as part of this, they really want you to go out to the public and say, hey, these are the buildings we're going to demolish, or these are the buildings we're going to fix. They have to be big, visible, eyesore buildings, and these clearly meet the test here. These are big, ugly buildings that were, great during World War II and helped us win World War II, but the time has passed and we can knock them down and then build two new buildings there and continue the progress in the park. And because I'm always selling, we just look at the progress we've made in the park together with the town. Dimension Fabricators, Adirondack Beverage, expansion after expansion, Old Dominion, CDTI 1, CDTI 2, two different buildings. Belgioso 1 and Belgioso 2. Now Belgioso going into a second building. The cleanup of the environmental issues at the depot that we work so closely with the town on. The new building 605 that will start construction this fall. It's an 85,000 square foot building at the park. The expansions of SQP, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the park is really becoming an economic engine for the town and for the county. We've been replacing old dated buildings with new infrastructure, new buildings, new tax base, new jobs. We're very proud of the track record there. And again, it's been a great partnership with the Planning Commission, with the town planning staff, town supervisor. Although you haven't called me on Saturday morning recently. There was a long period of time when you would call me early Saturday morning about works, some pressing issue. So we've kind of taken a break with.
I'm getting older.
Yeah, right.
Sleeping in
But,
longer.
he's a passionate advocate for the town, that's for sure. And so we're really excited about putting this forward. It's a very competitive grant. We're going to do the best we can. There's no guarantees, but you got to be in it to win it, as they say. So happy to answer any questions or.
Well, Ray, I'd just like to say first, before we open up for questions, you listed off a long list of things. I got to say, I've always say it, but publicly on the record here, what you've done countywide, but particularly in the town of Glenville, has been extraordinary. And we're really, just glad that we have a great working relationship. But I think there's over 1,000 jobs you brought into that business park. So I just want to congratulate you and thank you and give you the credit that you deserve, because I know sometimes you get a lot of the blame, right?
No. And speaking of, I just want to thank Mark Storey who's here, because as you all know, Mark is one of the best employees in the county, lives right here in Glenville. And every one of these projects, he's been intimately involved with. Every single one. He works so hard. He is my teammate, and we view the town staff here and yourself as members of the team. So thank you.
Any questions?
Well, I just have I made a comment. Ray, I know you're very busy doing the people in your office, and we have a rare opportunity to speak to you directly, but I want to take advantage of that and just extend my thanks and appreciation for what you do for the community. I work in economic development planning a little bit myself. I spent around long enough to see the Ken Greens, the Bartholomew, and people like that. Real stalwarts, and none of them had anything to do.
Oh, that's
you do a wonderful, wonderful job. I would even argue that you're the finest economic developer in the state. And we're fortunate to have somebody working so hard and you looking at his talent in the office. And I just want to say thanks. And obviously, we can support this grant. So you've done wonderful things for the town in terms of improving our economic landscape. And really, yeah, all the important
Thank you.
jobs for our community. I just want to thank you.
No
Thank you.
pressure, Ray, but you better bring this Fran in.
Yeah,
There'll be a dog if we don't.
Pressure's on. But the one thing also is what a great partner the Gillespie Group is. You know, they're just like, they wrote the letter today. You have to put it on the line. They're saying, the town gets 2 million, we're putting 17 million bang into the park. So.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that helps the competitiveness of the grant so much that we have that kind of commitment.
Yes.
Anything else from the board?
I would just like to echo all of the comments that have been said here today. When I got on the board almost 14 years ago, Glenville was a very different place. It wasn't, it was still a wonderful place to live and raise a family, but through your partnership and your efforts to work with us and help us and provide us with the means to turn things around, it wouldn't have been possible without you. So I just want to publicly thank you for everything you've done with us over the years.
Thank
It's
you.
very much
Too kind.
appreciated.
Too kind.
Oh, and I always look for opportunities to agree with my colleagues. So I would just join and thank you for everything that you've done and you as well. It's fantastic, and we're lucky to have you guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Other
Ray.
questions? One last thing. Rad Soap is opening Friday. I'm always selling on Freeman's Bridge Road, 53 Freeman's at 1 o'clock. We're having a ribbon cutting. Anybody would like to come by. It's a fast growing company. They're going to give out free soap. And great soap. It's a good product. And they moved their headquarters and their manufacturing plant to Freeman's Bridge as part of the Supervisor's Freeman's Bridge Corridor Improvement Initiative. And thank you for if you can drop by at 1 o'clock Friday, that'd be wonderful.
That was on my supervisor.
Thank you. I'm
report.
sorry. I
No,
messed up
they've
again.
taken all my stuff. I got nothing
Right.
left.
Sorry.
But you're gonna learn, Ray. I still say it anyway.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, Dave. Would you like to come to the podium?
David Butcherfarrell, 323 Glen Avenue in Scotia. As a village resident and as a member of the school board, I just really strongly support this and want to know how we can help support this with letters or whatever we need to do. Not only is it an eyesore, it's also a danger that it's an empty building that kids can go in. The high school is close by. And if we can get rid of that building and bring another business in, it would be wonderful. So anything the residents of the village, or I'm also a resident of the town, can do, please let us know, and we'll strongly support this.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Going once, going twice. Seeing none. The public hearing is closed. We'll now move to privilege of the floor. We do have a resident signed up, so we're going to ask Bonnie Osfeld to come up. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Come up to the podium. Yes, you're on the list. Go easy on me, Bonnie. Yes.
Last time I was here was about, 3 years ago, when I wanted to have sparkles and wreaths put on the lamppost for the holiday, and to have Glenville no longer be known as the black hole between Scotia. And working with Supervisor Kozel, we put together a team, and those wreaths are the result of that meeting. I'm here again.
Or not.
Earlier this year, I received a note from my waste hauler, Advantage, that the price was going up. Fine, it went up $2. No big deal. The price of gas was up. I'm a reasonable, flexible person. Then I get a note from Advantage. Well, we have sold some of our customers, not all, and you are now coming under Twin Bridges. But the price will stay the same. Okay. I don't really care what the company is as long as they take my trash away. A couple weeks ago, I get a note from Twin Bridges. We're raising the rate $5 a month. It is across the board. You have no choice. There are no tiers. There are no special things. Well, I'm not happy about that. So I go on the website, who are the other haulers? And Cassell can't get them on the phone. They don't return the call. They don't do anything. However, I cut them slack because they're probably inundated with people like me who are not happy. But I also notice on the site that there's County Waste and Advantage and Twin Bridges. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go back to Advantage. And I can't. Advantage is now fully owned by Twin Bridges. All right, well, I'll go to County Waste. Nah, can't do that. Twin Bridges owns County Waste. Don't believe me? Look at their website. The logo, Twin Bridges on all of them. Now, that is a monopoly in my humble opinion, and that just cannot stand in the town of Glenville. You have no competitive pricing for waste haulers. We have a lot of seniors. We are in the midst of an inflation. We have a lot of extra expenses that have gone up, and that's just not right. So I'd like the town to do something about this. And I remember years ago when Spectrum did the same thing with Time Warner. And Spectrum came in, no tears. This is it, take it or leave it. Well, I left it. And every year I saved $1,200. So I have no cable and I'm fine. Don't miss it, save a lot of money. However, when it comes to waste hauling, I'm not about to put my garbage in my car and take it to the dump. So there really needs to be something done here about this monopoly. And I don't begrudge a company having multiple, diverse businesses. I'm fine with that. But then you have to have competitive bidding, competitive pricing, and you have to have tier pricing because this community is very high on seniors. And I happen to be one of them now. So that's my spiel. I really hope that you can do something about this. And when it comes to those Christmas wreaths, they need new bows. They're really tattered. And if you want me to help you with that, I will. Or we can change the bows to candy canes. They would probably last better than the bows.
Did we get you the sparkle you're looking for? Remember you wanted more sparkle?
All you have to do is give me an appointment to come in and talk to you, and I would be very happy to help you with that. I'm very reasonable and so easy to get along with.
You are.
Whack, whack.
You are. I seem to enjoy it, Bonnie.
Just one final note, though. This is for my husband about the truck crashes keep happening. We've lived here for 44 years. This is insane. My husband would like me to suggest that you have a breakaway bar so that the truck will hit the breakaway bar before it ever gets to the bridge. And they're easy to install, he said. So that's his idea. Since the widening of the road and the new bridge, it's just maddening. It really is maddening. And his other thought was, don't allow trucks from that span to that span. No trucks allowed. End of story. End of crashes. So
Thank you, Bonnie. We'll talk soon.
I look forward to any further information on the waste haulers.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
I'm leaving now because I'm cold.
Okay. Good seeing you, Bonnie. Anyone else wish to be heard at privilege of the floor? Going once, going twice, seeing none. closed. And I'll go to the supervisor's report, which was half given, but we're doing that. I'll start with where Councilman started. Thursdays in the Park was a tremendous success. I want to thank Vicky, our park staff, Julie, the committee. It does seem to be growing. In the movie night, both of you, I have to acknowledge Councilman Galuski, who came up with the idea for the movie, which I thought was silly, and for Julie, who wanted to move it to Melwick Park, which I thought was a bad idea. I'm here to do my mea culpa and say I was wrong. So congratulations and good sport, Mike, showing up in your weekend garb that you normally wear around town. You looked great. As we're putting dates out there, budget forum is this Wednesday, the 14th, 7 o'clock here during our work session at Town Hall. I do a second one for the general public if they can't make that on the 20th, which is a Tuesday. That's 7 o'clock at the Senior Center. They're both the same exact presentation, so if you can't make one, you can make the other. Again, I just want to, I'm proud to say that we are the only community that does this locally, and it's an important piece for residents to be able to come in and engage on the front end of the process as opposed to the back end of the process, because I hear that a lot. It's always, well, we talk at the public hearing, but the budget's already set. This is an opportunity to come in and talk at the very beginning before the budget is even formulated. I've already put out the budget memo. You all know the challenges we have before us. We'll be talking about that on those during the forum and some other ideas about where we're going in 2023. I did want to touch real quick on the Cypress building. Just to report back, it has been boarded up completely. The graffiti has been covered completely. We're still in discussion with a prospective buyer. It's important for the community to understand that this has not been sold. Everybody thinks it's been sold. It has not been sold. There has been a purchase offer signed, contingent upon a whole bunch of things, and none of them are easy. So the developer is now doing their due diligence, and they're going through looking at the wetland delineation. There's a lot of wetland there. Everyone thinks there's all this stuff you can build on. It's not as big as people think as far as what you can actually build. There's a whole bunch of ideas that the developer has, and he's exploring them all. One of his biggest challenges is, and so let's go through the economics of this for a minute. One of his biggest challenges is bringing the sewer from Price Chopper to that site, because he can't do anything without the sewer. Can't do single family home without the sewer. Not going to do it. Can't do anything. Can't do apartments. Not that, that's even approved there, but that is estimated to be somewhere between $600,000 to $800,000 right there. The property for sale is at $600,000, so now you're at 1.2. The demolition for the building's at $1 million. You're at 2.2. And I told them, whatever you do here, you need to find another access point, because we're not going to use Cypress Road for anything, because you just can't do it. You can't build a neighborhood that is so far back and people can't find it and put traps. So here's another $500,000. You're at 2.7, maybe $3 million before you even get a shovel in the ground. So the economics of this thing is very, very difficult. We are looking at creative ideas. I'm going to report here that our RFQ that Jim Martin has worked on with EDP, the request for qualified proposals, is out for Town Hall. And the developer is interested in potentially looking at that site for that. So there'll be an RFQ response on that. Now, there's some good pieces, there's some good reasons for Town Hall to be there, and there's some bad reasons for Town Hall to be there. And we'll have to evaluate that as we get it and get other proposals. But that in particular, I said he needs to find another road in and out. And that would be out to Van Buren or out to Drums. Neither of them are easy or cheap. So there's a lot of economic issues there at Cypress, and that's why we are where we are, but at least we're doing everything we can to board up. On the issue of making them tear it down, we do not have that authority. And where people get confused on this, I'm just responding to a lot of calls and emails, so just so in case you hear these things. We have the authority from the state of New York to make somebody do it. But we have criteria we have to follow, and we are not at that criteria. That building has to be in imminent danger of falling down. Unfortunately, that building is built like a tank. It is very, you knew where I was going. a tank. It is not falling down. And it was very well built. It's just a disaster inside. So we don't have the authority to make them take it down, but we do have the authority to make them board it up and cover the fee, and we did that. And I'm not in any order here. So next item is 9/11 ceremony is on 9/11, 1 o'clock at the Lighthouse. It'll be the 17th year they're doing it. So if you can make it, that's a Sunday, that would be great. 1 o'clock, 9/11 Lighthouse. Ray already mentioned the rad soap on Friday, 1 p.m. If you can make that ribbon cutting. And Mike already talked about Oktoberfest, 9/24, 9 to noon. I do want to take a moment to thank the committee, working very hard. Vicky's part of that committee as well, and really securing the title sponsor. We didn't have a title sponsor up to very recently. And so getting the title sponsor, First National Bank of Scotia, thank them very much for coming in with the title sponsor on that. Speaking of parks, the paving in the parks is going forward. We are almost done with Melwick Park. We'll finally have Melwick Park paved, which will be huge for us. And then we'll move on to Indian Meadows and do all the paving in there as well. So that is continuing as we speak, and we hope to beat the weather. We think we can with Indian Meadows, getting up there and paving all of that. And we'll finally have our parks much cleaner, neater, and safer for people to come in and out of. Paving for the streets, your neighborhood, Mike, is supposed to start next week. I know a lot of people are frustrated with the stone on the road, but we're waiting on the vendor, and they have 60 days to get in there, and they tell us next week is when they will be in there. And lastly, I just wanted to point out a good news story. A resident reached out to me in Scotia. They wanted to see if they could paint, if you can picture the athletic fields at Scotia Glenville, and the football, soccer, multi-field, whatever you want to call it. And you look and you see one of those horrific buildings that Ray just talked about, and it's all like peeling and everything. It's Adirondack Beverage, but it's in bad shape. And they wanted to paint a mural, Go Tartans, with the logo, the tartan. And so we worked with the president and the owners of Adirondack Beverage. We were able to get the meeting with the resident of Scotia, and now they're going forward, and hopefully by next spring, they'll have a nice mural painted there. So beautify the area and put some school pride out there. So they agreed to it, and it's going to go forward. Yeah. Good news. Any questions for me? Thank you. All right, so we will move on to item number 9, which is a resolution declaring a negative declaration for seeker purposes on the consideration improvements to the town of Glenville water treatment plant and water distribution system. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Supervisor, first we'll provide a negative declaration in terms of the environmental assessment. We propose improvements to the town's water system, including upgrades to the water treatment plant, rehabilitation of 2 water tanks, a new elevated church water tank, and upgrades to the distribution system. Required to replace existing water mains and 5 additional connections to move the water. This is embodied in a preliminary engineering report done by Delaware Engineering, dated July 2020.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Rest? Councilman Goodlewski?
Yes.
Councilman Rosowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Tustin?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 10, authorizing the town board of the town of Glenville to authorize the supervisor to execute all necessary documents to apply for the WIA grant and/or the IMG grant for improvements to the town of Glenville water treatment plant and water distribution system. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution that you indicated that authorizes the enter into any necessary agreements in association with the aforementioned grant program that we spoke of earlier during the remarks. This is will set forth in motion some of the work in the master plan report prepared by Delaware Engineering, and has the reference cost of a maximum of estimated maximum of $22,720,000 that is
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
If I may, Mr. Supervisor, I just like to make a couple of comments. First, I'd just like to start by thanking you for being receptive to some questions that I had in regards to this resolution, this series of resolutions, and also for discussing these with me in pretty great detail. There obviously are a number of positives associated with this project, a lot of positives, and just for purposes of putting this out there, I support the bulk of the initiatives contained in the proposal. My concern or objection is specific to the removal of the water districts from the village system and placing them on the town system, as it particularly will relate to a loss of revenue and a currently existing revenue stream for the village of Scotia. And I realize that, for starters, that these are town residents on a village system that, in theory, they never should have been on this system to begin with, that this is just kind of the way that the hand that we've been dealt, so to speak, that they've been on this system, and the system as created has existed for some time now. And I would note that this issue has been around at least since I've been on the board. I think it's something we discussed actually between the time when I was first elected and actually before I was actually put on the board. So I have been aware of it. And ultimately, on this resolution in particular, where the decision turns for me is balancing the benefit to the residents in the affected water districts versus the loss that'll be absorbed by the residents in the village. And from my perspective, the only way to make up for the loss to the residents in the village, what will be a hit to their revenue stream, is to either reduce a portion of their budget or to raise taxes. And kind of being a year removed from the campaign trail, an issue that came up over and over again when being in the village was the taxes. So it's certainly it's a tough issue. It's one I've given a lot of consideration to, but for me, the way I'm looking at it is that we're going to affect a large portion of our residents for the benefit of a smaller portion of our residents. And quite frankly, if this was taking customers off of another town's municipal water, I would be feel differently about it. But as I sit here tonight with regards to this resolution and the one after this, I won't be supporting it.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, Councilman, for your reaching out and having a conversation about this with me and discussing this in great detail. I was hoping to avoid any discussion about one particular piece of the grant application because it's such a big comprehensive grant. And I think the day is coming when we will have a greater discussion as to which of those projects would either A, be funded or what we're willing to do or not do. I do just want to, at least say my piece on this. I reject wholly that there's only this false paradigm of only two options. We're either hurt somebody or somebody wins you. It's not the Hunger Games. The village has a whole bunch of options that they have at their discretion. Whether they choose them or not is on the village trustee. This town board, although they are town residents in the village of Scotia, have, first of all, the trustees and the mayor to deal. And those are folks that, and I didn't want to get too much into this, and I won't actually, but I do have to report to you about my meeting with the mayor and trustee Gray. My comment to them was very clear. What happens next is up to the village of Scotia and the trustees and the mayor. They have an opportunity, but there isn't this false paradigm that because we want to protect our residents who, for a variety of reasons, either have been, in our view, overcharged. They pay a premium for the water. They have there are flow. We have the engineering reports on the fire flow issues. There's all sorts of issues. There's lead in the pipes that we have to replace anyway. So when you start doing those things, this is the natural progression of where we want to go with protecting our residents financially, health and safety, and with proper fire flow. So I don't think that it's fair to say that they either have to reduce their budget or raise taxes. The mayor told me that in the meeting, and Heather Gray and Comptroller Jason Cuthbert were there, that the water doesn't have anything to do with the property tax. He said the water stays completely in the water fund, and it has to do with potentially rates, but not taxes. That's what the mayor said. I don't know if that's true or not true. I don't know what you do with your water money. That's something he seemed to indicate it did not go outside of the water fund. I don't know if anyone here, because we see a lot of trustees and employees, if you can confirm that or not, that'd be great.
So water rates going into the water fund, but we do have a lot of efficiencies in terms of shared employees that work both within our Department of Public Works as well as in our water department. So there was a loss, significant over $350,000 loss in water revenue. Could have implications on those shared staff perhaps being bumped down in parts.
So in that case, contrary to what the mayor said, there is transfers going between water to general fund.
No transfers, but there's shared, some of our water department employees that work on the main also work within our DPW. So they're paid more out of the water, but a significant drop in revenue could have the financial implications.
Thank you for clarifying. So we are where we are. I want to remind folks, this is a grant application. We're not making decisions tonight. We could have the discussion tonight. That'd be fine. We're going to have it again very shortly, but we can have it tonight too as well, and just go from there. So anyone else have any comments?
I'm going to withhold my comments, Mr. Supervisor, until we actually have an idea of whether we've even received the grant or not. I think it's important to support any application for public monies to do infrastructure projects. I am fully aware of the concerns of the village, and I invite the village to come to the bargaining table. And I don't think that anybody at this dais is interested in causing irreparable harm to a budget. However, the onus is not on us to begin negotiations. We would love to have you. We would love to negotiate with you. But again, as in terms of this resolution in particular, I cannot see not supporting a grant application that will benefit the town of Glenville residents.
Thank you. Again, I think you've, I think that we're at a point where I do have to report to the board that I alluded to the meeting with the mayor and trustee Heather Gray. We had a lot of discussion in that meeting. Again, Jason was in that meeting. We impressed upon them that we, and I think I said it, we sit here ready to talk. We sit here ready to negotiate. The mayor seemed very uninterested in it. He did promise me that he was going to go to a meeting last night with the trustees and bring it up and ask if the trustees want to negotiate. I did not get a call from the mayor today, so I called the mayor and I asked the mayor, how did the discussion go? And the mayor said it didn't come up, which was a great disappointment, as you can imagine, to me, because it was his job to bring it up. But it did not come up. And I said, Mr. Mayor, I'm upset. I'm ready to negotiate, and time is of the essence here. And after a long pause and silence, he said, we're not negotiating. I talked to each trustee individually, he said, and we are not negotiating. That is the position of the village as it stands today.
Could I just make inquiry, Mr. Supervisor? And I know we did talk extensively about this in the series of resolutions coming hereafter, and we do have present with us this evening the next mayor of absent some unforeseen change, and we also have candidates for trustee and a current trustee, and what I guess I would just make inquiry about from your perspective and maybe the board's as well is our willingness to sit down and to talk about these issues, and also just from the timetable perspective that there isn't a plan to, for example, go and dig up Heritage Parkway starting tomorrow, that this is something that we're looking at possibly the spring of 2023 on, and that there is room to sit and to discuss these issues.
Well, as we said in the meeting, we were ready to do that. The time is of the essence because as we talk about a spring project, really, you couldn't get in the ground right now with bids and everything you have to do before winter. So
Yep.
now is the time to be going out to bids. We are ready to go out to bid on some of these projects, regardless of the grant. I'm told that we will know the grant, know if we get the grant or not in November. And so maybe even earlier. And so it sounds like a quick turnaround. But we probably will be going out to bid on some of these projects very shortly. Now, going out to bid doesn't mean a shovel's in the ground. I mean, you take 30, 60 days to put a bid together, then they have to accept the bid, and then they have to, do the engineering, and blah, blah, blah. So if we start tomorrow, we could potentially be in the ground in the spring, May. This is why, time is of the essence. But I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we're prepared to go forward very shortly on some of the projects.
Okay.
I'd just like to kind of say that I appreciate your concerns and your position, and I do welcome, to sit down and talk. But, water services is a premium service that applies to the residents. It's fundamentally important. If that's the reason a fire flow is absolutely important. I mean, I would hate to have underserved water supply and fire occur, and we didn't act because of a budgetary concern. I mean, it could come to that, and nobody wants to see that. And we're taking preemptive action here. This is a large project, $22 million. There's many component parts of this. Things will shift and move and change. But, we need to get started, and that concern over fire flow and the safety of and the provision of reliable water, reliable pressure, those are all fundamentally important. It's not real, glitzy stuff, but it's fundamentally important. One of the fundamentally important things we do as a town government. We need to do it well. And we can't try to wait too long for time. And there's a better solution out there for our fire service and for our residents. And we need to achieve that.
And I appreciate, Mr. Garluski, I think you're suggesting in your premise that there might be a new mayor and a new board and new trustees to deal with. But you have to, I just ask you to look at it from our perspective. I've been talking about this over 2 mayors and multiple trustees, and nobody has cared. I haven't gotten anything. Even as late as this past Tuesday, when we sat down with the mayor and trustee Gray, it just doesn't seem to have any real interest in negotiating. And so people can say, oh, wait till the next one. I heard that last time.
Yeah.
And then we waited. I think it's just time to get moving with this and put these issues behind us.
If I may very briefly, we certainly have gotten some people's attention based on who's present and phone calls that I fielded. So I would just express certainly that there be a continued dialogue between my personal sentiment here overall, kind of foreseeing where this evening is going, is that there be a continued dialogue between the town and the village, and we look for compromise and options that work best for both entities.
I think everyone on this board, but I will speak for myself, absolutely, as we said to the mayor, we are ready to sit down and talk. We've been wanting to talk
Yes, of course.
for a while. And so that conversation can continue, can start anytime the village is ready. But concurrently, we're moving forward. Anything else? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Dudley.
No.
Councilman Wozzachowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley.
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution 11 Resolution in order after public hearing approving the increase in improvements pursuant to section 202B of the town law. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this will, I think, put in place the funding is up to the bonding, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
No,
this
this,
is not the bond.
this just is it's a section of law, 202B of the town law that requires us to improve and find that there's a public benefit in this project.
Okay,
That's okay. So this basically finds that there's a public benefit, and it really orders that the facilities of the town water district shall be increased and improved. So it's basically codifying the public hearing, findings of the public hearing. Is that correct? Courtney? My understanding. We both concur. So any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the vote.
Councilman Burton?
yes.
Councilman Goodwin?
For the reasons stated on the last resolution, no.
Councilman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the amount not to exceed the aggregated principal amount of $22,720,000. That was tough to read. To finance the cost for improvements to the town's water treatment plant, water distribution system, and storage facility, appropriating the issuance of that bond of the town to finance the cost. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I think this resolution, although it is lengthy, is best encapsulated in the first whereas clause, so I will read that in the attempt of providing the adequate description. Whereas on August 17th, 2022, the town board of the town adopted a resolution calling for a public hearing in accordance with section 202B of here, town law, to review the town's potential authorizations and funding of improvements to the town's wastewater treatment plant and water distribution system, consisting of one, upgrading the existing mechanical, HVAC, architectural, electrical, and existing equipment on the older side of the wastewater treatment plant, and two, the installation of ductile iron piping necessary to provide town water to customers in water districts 2, 3, 8, and 12 in order to increase water pressure and disconnect these customers from the village local water distribution system and replace those customers with lead water services.
Thank you. And for the record, I just want to again repeat that we are not borrowing $22 million. Never going to happen. This is authorizing us to do it in the case that we want to, but this grant will only fund $5 million, 40% our share, bring us to about 8.7. So at the most, we'll probably be taking maybe a $5 million bond potentially, if it comes to that. So, you know, some of the questions we had for bond counsel was, if we do this, does this go against our bond rating? Because you know, we have an open line of credit and they hold that against you. This does not.
Okay.
That was confirmed. And so it just is an open authorization, but we certainly would not go out and do bonding without all the public hearing and everything else for the project that it would be supporting. So, you know, I don't want folks to get nervous that we're borrowing 22.7. It's not going to happen. But we just wanted to go to the full authority of it because that looks better for the grant. Any other questions or comments?
If I may, Mr. Supervisor, just to maybe explain what I guess could be perceived as an inconsistency in how I'm voting tonight. I wanted to kind of articulate my position on the two previous resolutions as a means of showing a willingness to continue conversations between the village and the town of Glenville. I do think that on the issue specific to the water districts and the potential loss of water revenue, so to speak, for the village, that talk should continue and there should be an ongoing dialogue and there and potentially some compromise met. But I would note with this particular resolution that there are a number of positives to this project, a number of things and that I wanted to see move forward since I've been on the board, particularly regarding updates to our water system. And based on the fact that the other resolutions did pass, I'll be supporting this resolution to provide the proper funding stream.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Council Martin?
Yes.
Council Goodlewski?
Yes.
Council Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, authorizing the application for Restore New York funds for demolition of the Navy Depot and Navy Depot improvements. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, I think you pretty well summed it up. This resolution, should it pass, would authorize you to execute all necessary documentation for the Restore New York grant application to apply for the funding for the improvements at the former Navy Depot as discussed during the public hearing.
Thank you. And I think Chairman Gillen did a wonderful job summarizing the project.
He's a very good partner to us.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Council Martin?
Yes.
Council Goodlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, listing reporting and clerical errors in the Glenville Water District 11 payroll and accepting the correction. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I think this is a remarkable resolution, Mr. Supervisor, as there is only one account that is requiring an adjustment. I remember when this was several pages long. I think this is a testament to the commitment we made to the automatic water meter readers years ago, that while it was a hefty lift, this is, I mean,
I think Gene is willing to pay it out of pocket.
I have a record now. Nope, not my address. So I'd like to thank those of that worked on that project, because that, I mean, my goodness, it used to be pages, so that's pretty good.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Council Martin?
Yes.
Council Goodlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 15, authorizing a contract with Still Clean Electric for electric improvements at Indian Meadows Park. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is connection with request for proposals for electrical service within Indian Meadows Park. There's a number of improvements and installation of new conduit and all manner of things going on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We did receive proposals from two firms. The lowest responsible bidder is Stilsing Electric in Rensselaer, New York, with a bid of $45,000. So should this resolution pass, it would award the contract and accept the proposal from Stilsing Electric in Rensselaer in the amount of $45,000 for improvements as stated to Indian Meadows. Said expense is included in the 2022 amended budget.
Thank you. This is an important project. I want to thank Vicki and Tom for all the work on it. It feels like we've been working on it for a long time, but it's going to bring electricity to our folks, the sports leagues who use the fields, football, softball, for a variety of reasons. Hopefully it'll be the basis to start maybe, another concession stand for them or whatnot. But just another project going on in the park that seems to be keeping Vicki busy for a while now.
Job security, Vicki, right?
How many more projects we got? Quite a few. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Council Martin?
Yes.
Council Goodlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 16, approving the minutes of the regular town board meeting held on August 17th. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
The resolutions as noted, Mr. Supervisor, and I would thank Ms. Davenport and her staff for putting these together for us.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Council Martin?
Yes.
Council Goodlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. We'll skip new business for a moment, go on to the add-on, resolution number 1 to purchase the 2022 Chevy Malibu. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with the potential purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Malibu from Joe Bazile Chevrolet in Depew, New York, in the amount of $22,756.31. Should this resolution pass, it would authorize the chief of police to purchase it says in the resolution it's a 2023, but then it says in the resolved clause it's 22.
Yeah, it's from Mangino in Amsterdam.
Oh, Okay. 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 So this resolution is not to purchase a 2023 Chevrolet Malibu. It's to purchase a 2022 Chevrolet Malibu from Mangino Chevrolet in Amsterdam for the total cost of $19,705. The expense for this vehicle is included in the 2022 amended budget. This resolution would also authorize the chief to expend up to $10,300 to equip and outfit the new vehicle. Again, this expense would be included in the 2022 amended budget. And lastly, it would place on the surplus property list a 2010 Ford Fusion and would be eligible for disposal in the most cost-effective manner by the town comptroller.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, resolution passes. Move on to new business. Start on my left with Councilman Deluse.
New business, Mr. Supervisor.
Councilwoman Brzezowski.
I would just like to thank the members from the village, both candidates and also trustees and employees for coming tonight and for staying for the whole meeting. I know this is a very touchy subject, and I would just like respectfully thank you very much for being here. And hopefully we will be able to work together to find a solution that's amenable to everybody. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Councilman Muller.
I would like to reiterate that and my office is fought and worked about any way possible. It's sincere, and I would appreciate that.
Thank you. I do have an item on new business I wanted to bring up, and it's a little unorthodox because it came to us a little unorthodox, but and for that reason, I'm already opposed. My natural set is to be opposed to this because it's not within natural process of how we do things. Respect the process, right, Jim? I learned that. But HUD, federal government, has decided to expand the amount of Section 8 vouchers that communities get across the country, and Glenville has been allocated 3 additional HUD vouchers. It's kind of unusual because typically it takes an act of the board, of the town board, in order to expand, to accept the vouchers. This is just, it was just passed and said, here you go, and the town supervisor can either opt in or opt out. So I could say yes or no. We don't want them, or we'll take them. Again, I don't like that process. I don't. And so I called the folks at Section 8 and said, you know, I need to at least bring this to the board and get input. And so they graciously allowed us to freeze the vouchers until we had a chance to talk. There's not a formal resolution here. It's just talk about, do we want to expand the program in the town or not? Now, typically, if we do that, it'd be a public hearing and people can speak on it and all this kind of stuff. We don't have that now. We're just going to have to kind of talk. So I asked basic questions, and this is another thing that bothers me. And they really, no one really had those answers, but I did get them in time. So I'm going to just read what I asked anyway. And if you have any additional questions, I can go back to them. First of all, we have 60 families on Section 8 in the town of Glenville. This will bring it, and this includes the village of Scotia, it will bring it to 63 if we accept these. I asked, what's the waiting list? The current waiting list is 92 applicants on that list right now. We're waiting to get into a voucher program. 11 of those applicants live or work within the town, and they are served first on a waiting list. So they're signed first preference. If you live currently or work in the town, your first preference. 11 of them. First preference applicants are waiting about 4 months for an application to get the assistance. And they, again, get that before the second preference, which is the remaining 70 people waiting. The wait time is highly atypical and is related to the economic and housing effects due to the pandemic. So they're saying the premise of why they're doing this differently is that there seems to be a crisis and they're trying to address the crisis. Wait times have been decreased because we've significantly increased the number of offers we send out each month. So they are starting to see the wait list decrease a little bit going forward. But there are about, again, I'm reading this because I just got this. Prior to the pandemic, the average wait time in the Glenville program was 4 to 5 years. So they cut that down dramatically already. Household composition. The program primarily serves elderly and disabled families, whereas 53 out of the 60, so 88%, have at least one member that is elderly, disabled, or both. So 88% of these families have that. The total number of adult household member is 68. Total number of adult household member is 68. There are
The
14
age.
children. I don't know what that means.
The age?
The total number of adult household member.
So 60, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
There are 14 children under the age of 18, and of those children, 5 are under the age of 6. So that's just, and it's a good thing I pre-read this, because at the end of this one, he says, please do not share this information publicly. So, so I can't give you unit locations, but we can
No,
talk
I don't
about
think
that
we need that.
separately. It's still legal to talk about unit locations. I could tell you the philosophy is that they try to be in more densely populated areas. We do not know the addresses of the 3 they would add. So we don't know that until after we opt them out. So I don't know if anyone has any more questions, any more thoughts on it. Again, I think it's generally, certainly good. I just don't like when things aren't done according to how the procedure, the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Just a flaw of mine, Mike. I don't know what to tell you.
I agree, Mr. Supervisor, that a process should be followed, but I think in this instance, given the rising costs of not just waste management, but
Yeah.
we got a thing from National Grid that said our bill is going up this month, other expenses that have increased exponentially over the last year. I think that in this instance, I myself would be in favor of accepting these applications, especially since there are 11 families within the town who would be served first with this. I think it would be churlish to say no, quite frankly. So I will go on record saying I would wholeheartedly support adding the additional 3 units.
Following that, given the statistics that you just shared here,
No, those I could share publicly. I can't share location
okay.
publicly.
That's not the waiting list of 92 applicants is substantial. 11 of those are in town. These 3 additional, we're going to eat into that. Some applicants are going to be substantial waiting list there. And given the nature of the profile of the beneficiaries, elderly, disabled elderly, I'm clearly in favor of expanding, serving that population. Certainly a need and unprecedented need now, given the situation we're coming out of the pandemic, and arguably they're not on the reception and all that kind of thing. I think,
I'm dying and just curious to know what Mike would say. I have no idea.
I mean, I love hearing Councilwoman Rosbowski and Councilman Martin talking like this. Go carry on. I would, based on the number going from 60 to 63, based on the statistics of the 11 families that are on the waiting list, and into some of Councilman Martin's points, just having nothing but empathy for any person who is graduating, entering the world and looking to buy a house in this current housing market and trying to afford it based on just what has happened coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would support it. Yes.
Well, I didn't want to make a decision without the board's input. I thought that was important. And, my only comment was I hope this isn't a trend where they continue to go around local boards. That's really where it is.
mindful. I would rather see this program in using money from tuition buyback. Exactly. This needs, these are people in need. And not necessarily,
Much more fair and equitable application of it's a much more fair and equitable distribution of public funds. I agree, Jim. Mhm.
So we will accept the vouchers and go from there.
Thank you for bringing that to us, Mr. Supervisor. Appreciate it.
I think we have to uphold some semblance of the process. I mean, I believe.
So thanks very much. Work on
Anything else? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn.
I will move back.
Second,
I'll second.
moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.